Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest of the Overboard Network, a Below Deck podcast. We're back with season 3, episode 12 of Sailing Yacht, appropriately titled New Girl Aboard. In this week's episode, we welcome on a new crew member, say goodbye to the good doctor. Gary sparks a new flame while his old flame crumbles. We'll go over who won and who lost the episode, and we'll go over our question of the week. As always, you can email us at belowdeckpod@gmail.com to submit life advice questions you have. And at this time, let's bring in my co-host. Sean, will you ever be able to look at pasta the same way again?
Insane move for her to eat, for Ashley to eat again at breakfast too. That was the craziest part. No, she looks so sad eating it. Like it was the sloppiest.
Well, the best part was she goes, as she's eating it, she goes to Scarlett. She goes, "Did I eat anything last night?" It's like, yeah, you did.
It was cold too, right?
Yeah, I think
it was like from a Tupperware container.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big pasta guy. It's not gonna turn me off of it forever, but I might give it a week. I don't know. Is that what it looked like when I eat pasta? I don't know.
Yeah, I might be on the macaroni train for a while, and off the spaghetti. It was not a good look, but at the same time, we've all been there. We've all had some drunk pizza or some drunk burritos or Taco Bell or whatever it is. So the only difference is mine's usually not cut on camera. But that's why they get hazard pay, right, Sean?
Yeah. But if you puke something up, you're not going to eat the same thing again in the morning, right? I mean,
well, listen, there's a lot of not remembering on this season. So
that is true.
If you don't remember throwing it up, does it even count?
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. That's kind of what Gary's going with right now too.
Yeah, we'll get into Gary a little bit. Sean, let's start at the top of the episode. We start off. So this is where the guests originally had, I think, a 10 p.m. dinner. But I think the drinks got the best of them. So they were pushing it to what seemed like 11:15. I made the joke, sushi, old sushi isn't the best sushi, but at the same time, at least it's something that it's not hot or it needs to go out now. A lot of some sushi's cold. I don't understand what's cold, what's hot in sushi. A lot of it's cold. So maybe just put it in the fridge for a little while, right?
I feel like I've eaten quite a bit of room temperature sushi, which probably isn't okay, but
it's not great. It's not great.
I've had that a lot. Yeah. The guests were nicer than the second dinner, right? I think because they were tired.
Yeah, I think it was. So, obviously they're having some form of what seemed like a Japanese dinner. So I know a couple of the guys asked a couple times for Sapporo beer, or they didn't have the right sake glasses. So I know that got under Daisy's skin a little bit, but as she said, she goes, just treat them like they're a 3-year-old. Just ignore what they say. I don't have a 3-year-old, but I'm sure that works. So yes, but to answer your question, they were a little bit better behaved this time. I think.
Oh, I was gonna say, I feel like, especially with guys when they're on vacation, they'll be super obnoxious for one night.
Yeah.
And then the next, I don't know, that's kind of it. They were a little better. Yeah, they kept hounding them about the Japanese beer, but.
And, I'll tell you, I think I'm at the point in my life, at least, where if I'm going to drink more than moderate in a day, I'm only going to do it once.
Yeah, right.
So if I'm day drinking, I'm probably going home before the sun sets, maybe taking a nap, but I'm not going back out.
You're right.
I might put a movie on and order some takeout, but I'm not going back out. And so I think these guys were all in the same boat, whereas they kind of day drank a good amount. So now they're going to have a couple cocktails to stave off the shakes, but
right. Yeah.
We're not going heavy again. So it's about where I thought they would end, and it is. So you're right. They were a lot nicer this episode, a lot more tolerable, which I kind of like, because I know we'll get to it at the very end of the pod, I think, but I don't really enjoy too much when the show is about the guests being obnoxious. I like it being about the crew and they're working, but I just don't love them just constantly complaining about the impossible charter guests.
Yeah, every once in a while it's good, but yeah, you start to feel bad for everyone.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
So Sean, as these guests were getting off, I got to ask you, what did you think about the pack job that Daisy and Ashley put together? Because I'll say, I think it was reasonable because they were basically in the harbor when they told Daisy that they're not packing and that the crew needs to pack for them, which is really unacceptable.
It's so if you tell me to unpack, I guess, like suitcase, that doesn't sound that bad, right?
Yep.
But worst part of like a vacation is trying to pack everything back in because you always end up with like more stuff somehow.
Absolutely.
And you're trying to refold stuff and you're like, wait, this is dirty. Why am I folding this back up? I 100% get where Daisy's coming from.
Yep.
Yeah, wrapping shoes up into dresses that's something. I don't know, but very relatable from Daisy. Still got a nice tip too.
Yeah. So and it'd be 20 grand, which I feel like a really good tip for sailing yacht is 20, and a really good tip for like below deck legacy is like 30. Because there's an extra person, it's a bigger boat, and it's more expensive.
And for below deck Australia, it's like 15. In American dollars too. Yeah.
That's awful because then that's like 12 Aussie.
I wonder if those guests weren't really even aware that show was going to be on in America too.
Yeah,
you have to watch the Australia one, but like,
yeah, we'll do it.
The tips are bad.
Sean, I'm waiting for the Thanksgiving Day marathon where Bravo just puts on the entire season of it, and I'll just record the whole thing, or like a 4th of July marathon. They'll do something to get it back. It on TV.
We'll do a special episode sometime down the road.
Yeah. So Sean, let's go into our new stew.
Love to.
She's Scarlett. Now I know we talked about her a little bit. She seems more. And listen, this isn't a hate. This is just looking at her Instagram. It seems more Instagram model-y than I guess yachty. But at the same time, I'm an accountant and I don't have one Instagram post about being an accountant. So I guess I can't really call a spade a spade. So far, I like what I'm seeing from her. I know we can go into her background, but positive vibes on Scarlett so far.
Oh, great first episode. She came across so well to me, and like I don't know what I was expecting, but she seems very like down to earth, and she's from Arkansas, but she doesn't like country music, and she used to date a captain, and Gary's almost a captain, so
there you go. Listen, I will say, and we're gonna get into it, Sean, but this was my honorable mention, but I can't wait. Almost everyone who's on Twitter that tweets about Below Deck cannot figure out why women like Gary. Okay. All right. Here's the thing. Is he a 10 in looks? Probably not. I mean, no. Is he a 10 in confidence? Yes. And that makes up for everything. I mean, look at the guy's track record here. Like, listen, I'm not calling him like a god or anything because he's hooked up with all these girls. That's not how I judge people. But the fact that he can just pretty much like almost call his shots with like his coworkers is like ridiculous. And like, I listen, I probably already put my foot in my mouth with this, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think he's super gregarious, right? I think that's the best way to describe him.
Okay.
Which everyone loves, like women especially. But I love when he's super eager too. Like him playing like he's like being annoyed with Ashley. He's getting a little old. I mean, it's not his fault, but like I like a super eager Gary, like around Daisy or around Scarlett. Favorite moment from the episode where I think Gary asked Glenn, like, does she need any help with her bags? And Glenn's like, I'm not sure. I haven't asked her. And then he runs out from the top bunk to grab her bags. Yeah, like I love enthusiastic Gary. But yeah, he's a likable guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
he doesn't even hide it, but it's not in like it doesn't come off like a creepy way. He's like, I'm really into you. Like, but it's not like a creepy way. It's almost just fun because he's a funny guy. So like things are like fun loving, but All right, let's get into a little bit more about Scarlett. So you mentioned Arkansas, not country music, San Diego. Sounds like she's grown up with some boats. And now, Sean, I know the biggest question that was coming in, and Ashley was even a little worried about maybe Ashley's obsessed with being second stew. She doesn't want it because it looks good on her resume or that she's proud to have the title. It's because she wants to be able to boss someone around. And I just think that that's so toxic. But throughout this time, I know she asked maybe like 5-6 times of Daisy about like, oh, can I be like, have you thought about second stew here? And Sean, I don't know how she can basically like get, and we're going to talk about dinner, but basically make a fool of herself at dinner, get like kind of ruin the vibe, all of these things, and then still be like, oh, I need to be second stew. I have more experience. It's like, yeah, but you're not second. You may have more experience, but that doesn't automatically give you second stew.
I think Daisy mentions later she barely has more experience.
Yeah.
Like their CVs are basically the same. So yeah, part of me is rooting for Ashley to be second stew just to see what it's like. We don't know what it's like yet.
It might be terrible for Scarlett, but yeah, she wants the power for all the wrong reasons, obviously.
Ashley also tells Scarlett that she kissed Gary, but she doesn't tell her that they had sex.
But she does at some point because Ashley, and let's get into
the cab ride.
On the cab ride. So chronologically, I mean, they're going to dinner. Gary and Scarlett are sitting next to each other. And, interesting move by Ashley. She said she wants to sit closest to the water. Well, then Gary's going to sit on the complete other side. So it was a bad move by Ashley. But Gary and Scarlett are kind of hitting it off. Ashley, I don't know how she gets drunk out of nowhere. Like, aren't they all drinking at the same amount of time? But Ashley gets really drunk. Her eyes lower real quick before the dinner even comes. And basically just keeps, blabbering on about how her and Gary had sex. And Sean, I'm going to say this. I think we assume they had sex. I do think it is a shitty position for Ashley to be in, wherein like the other counterpart, like Gary, is like basically just like brushing it off. I think she's genuinely hurt. She's not going about it the right way. And even Colin alludes to her at that, like saying like the worst thing you're doing right now is kind of what you're doing and dragging it on. But I can understand why she's hurt about it.
It's not many girls are put in that situation. Like, right? I don't know. Well, I guess Eddie and Raquel, season 3. Yeah. I think Gary doesn't want to be attached to Ashley, right? That's the big thing. He still likes Daisy. He might like Scarlett too, appears so. I mean, and he doesn't want to ruin it with like, hey, I had sex with Ashley. Like, this complicates everything. Right. That's why he's doing it. I don't think it's because he doesn't remember. I really don't. After that their night, he went back to his room and told Colin and Marcos about it.
Yeah.
So
it's maybe not Gary having his best side here. But either way, and listen, I know she's probably hurt more than anything, but she's also like her insecurities are coming out significantly. And it's not a good look. Dude, I cringed during dinner a couple times.
Dude,
I don't know about you.
She loves killing the vibe. And I'm rooting so hard for Gary and Scarlett to hook up. I know you are too. And
yeah.
Ashley, every turn. I know I like Daisy takes Scarlett for a cigarette break.
Now that's interesting, Sean. So she actually asked Gary Gary, do you want to have a cigarette break? And Scarlett said, I'll go.
Oh,
I think that's what happened.
I think you're right too.
Yeah. And so that just kind of left Gary there. And then Ashley just keeps saying, I remember us having sex. It's like, it's not a good move for Gary to just like be like, no,